What is up, everybody? I'm Knull given here with your afternoon snap, and today we are jumping back in with another look at this Galactus Knull list. Though this time we're not going to focus on one of the cards in the deck, we're going to focus on the location Warrior Falls. We're going to look at 4 games today that all feature Warrior Falls because this is such a sweet location, and one of my dreams when purchasing Knull was to be able to just throw a Knull into Warrior Falls and watch as it slowly devours all of the cards that my opponent tries to play against it. So we'll see if we can make that dream a reality at some point in this video. I'm thinking about throwing Psylocke in there, getting the fodder going, getting it all growing, but I want to throw Psylocke into the Vault because that's really not a great location for Galactus to go. So I'll just wind up throwing that there. We see a Nova Roma as our 3rd location, and then on turn 4 we do have the extra energy. Nothing I can really do with it this turn. Just going to wind up waving to set up a turn for Galactus. So pretty good stuff here. I'm going to go ahead and snap. We've got the Wave, the Galactus, and the Knull, and we even have Mystique. So we've got a lot of these key combo pieces, and I'm pretty excited about making this work. But my opponent has Scarlet Witch to turn off Warrior Falls. That's going to give us Sokovia, discarded my Mystique, and I believe they're Shang-Chi, which that is actually kind of nice because now my opponent is Chi-less, but unfortunately we are Warrior Falls-less, so we won't quite be able to go crazy with Warrior Falls in this game. This is just a warm-up game, just so that way I could talk and introduce the premise of the video, but this is going to be a straightforward Galactus Knull game for the most part. So I think on this next turn I'll probably just play Cosmo, though then we wind up drawing Death. So there's 2 real options to go here, but I think for the most part if we just play the Cosmo and the Knull now, maybe that's a mistake. If my opponent actually discarded the Shang-Chi to Sokovia, I wasn't fully paying attention in this rewatch, then maybe I don't have that much to play around, but this still plays around something like Leader or something like that. Now I don't have to worry about it. I can just drop a 17 power Knull and be reasonably confident that I'm going to be able to take this location in the final turn, though I will say my opponent makes this game extremely close because they are going to drop, let's jump ahead a second, they're going to drop a She-Hulk, a slightly powered up She-Hulk, which also pumps up their Angela, so we only win this game by 2. Really close one. Let's look at some more. In this game, again, we're going to see Warrior Falls as that first location, and both myself and my opponent are going to snap. I'm snapping because I got Wave into Galactus, my opponent's snapping because they got Killmonger, and wanted to blow up their whole board. Of course, I've done the same thing in some pretty recent videos, even the Killmonger change-up, I was calling it. But now we get to blow up the Killmonger. We get to Galactus change up on my opponent here, blowing up Hala and Clintar, and just leaving ourselves with Warrior Falls. And we already have Knull in our hand, a quite big Knull, in fact, because of all of the cards that have been destroyed already this game. And we're going to add a few more cards to this list. I guess my opponent was playing Death plus something else this turn. Yeah, they played Death and something, and we take that out with our Galactus there. Maybe should have saved that for the final turn, but we made it cheaper with Wave, so they went all in for it. I'm slightly tempted here to go Magic into Warrior Falls, just so that way we could play Knull and then Mystique on turn 7, but I also want to make use of Warrior Falls, and we can even make our Knull a little bit bigger, and we can protect it with Cosmo, so this is actually the perfect setup here. We'll Yondu to blow up Bucky Barnes. Didn't add that much more to our Knull, and then my opponent will reveal a Deathlock. So Yondu is going to get destroyed in the carnage of Warrior Falls this turn, which puts Knull up to 46 power, and unfortunately, there's no way that my opponent can attempt to battle with that. They might have stayed in it if they had a Knull for themselves, but they are indeed going to retreat. We didn't really get to see Knull taking over Warrior Falls in this one, but still obviously a pretty fantastic game. So maybe this can be the game where Knull can finally take over Warrior Falls, and we're going to see Warrior Falls come out once again on turn 1. And we've got the Knull, so we definitely have some of the pieces to the puzzle already. Just kind of like a sub-game I was playing with myself. I just thought it would be really cool. Location number 2 going to be Danger Room, which also has some synergy with the stuff that we got going on in this deck. So I'm going to go ahead and snap, and we'll take our chances here and see what we are able to pull off with this one. I'm just going to throw down the Psylocke into Warrior Falls. Hopefully something will come around and clean that up later on. My opponent plays a Daredevil on turn 2, and then we get Project Pegasus. And this puts me in kind of an interesting spot because I would love to throw down Knull into Warrior Falls this turn. And we potentially could do that, but we'd also have to play Yondu alongside of it and hope that Yondu doesn't rip a 0-cost card. The problem is nothing's been destroyed yet this game, so Knull would have been a 0-cost card, so I wind up throwing it off of Warrior Falls with Knull plus Mystique into Danger Room, and my opponent plays a Professor X, totally locking us out of the Warrior Falls, which was such a bummer. But maybe we can still destroy some cards in the Danger Room. Yondu's gonna rip a card, and then I'm just gonna play cards into the Danger Room. I put Cosmo over in Project Pegasus briefly, but I'm hoping that we will be able to just play some cards into the Danger Room and have those get destroyed. I guess I actually did go for Cosmo over in Project Pegasus just to protect it a little bit from like a Shang-Chi or something like that. But now we are going to go for Cloak plus Wave into the Danger Room, and at this point I'm just hoping that these cards get destroyed in some capacity, and then that we are able to grow our Knull and Mystique. So that's the game plan. We're just rolling for that 25% chancer and wanting our cards to get destroyed, which is typically not the case with Danger Room, but every time the cards get destroyed, it's basically doubling their power because we're getting them both in Danger Room and in Project Pegasus there. So just going to be playing a Cloak, and that does get destroyed, and then we will flip over our Wave, and this one unfortunately does not get destroyed, and neither does my opponent's Arrow, but that could have been absolutely huge for us. Instead, we will finish off this game by dropping a Death into the Danger Room, and it's only a 1 in 4 chance, but if this blows up, then we definitely win, because that'll add 12 power to both of these locations, and we're already winning in both of these locations as well. So I take the chance, and my opponent actually winds up retreating on this one, so a little bit unfortunate. We didn't really get to live the Warrior Falls dream, but we got to play around with Danger Room, which I think was a nice consolation prize. We're going to take a look at one final game, and this one is going to feature Warrior Falls prominently. And it's also going to feature one new addition to the deck, Dr. Octopus. We'll talk a little bit more about that tomorrow, but I added that in thanks to a commenter recommendation. So shout out to King Sam 28. But this game is definitely going to have some warriors that are falling here, and that's partially because on turn 3, our final location is Mirror Dimension, and that is going to copy Warrior Falls for us. So that makes this one pretty sweet. We're going to play the turn 3 Electro, which sets us up to do a turn 4 Doc Ock. And we could either throw that in nowhere to just play a 5 power 10 cost card, but really the idea behind Doc Ock is to dump that into a location, get your opponent to play a bunch of cards there themselves, and then you can Galactus a different location, giving yourself a really big Knull. Now, we don't actually have the Galactus in this one. We're just going to be going at it with Knull and Dr. Octopus, but I think we have the tools to be able to take our opponent out here. Let's see what they got going on. Doc Ock is going to drag in Devil Dinosaur, a pretty big card, Dr. Doom, adding some Doombots to the other 2 locations, and Captain Marvel. And then Arrow is going to bring my Dr. Octopus over into that center location. So maybe we're not using Galactus. We still potentially could have if Electro had blown up in the second Warrior Falls, but unfortunately Electro remains alive. So that's going to, and we also didn't draw Galactus, so that'll put an end to that plan. But Electro should blow up this turn, and we should be able to just throw Knull into Warrior Falls and kind of have that be really strong. The synergy that I was talking about at the start of the video with double Warrior Falls, we're going to have a bunch of cards get blown up in these fights, and yeah, that should be really sweet. I'd love to play Magic. I'd love to grab another turn out of all of this, but sadly we can't Magic into nowhere, and there's no way I'm magicking one of these Warrior Falls, because that is actual magic to be able to play such a sweet game. So we're going to see Wave get destroyed in the first Warrior Falls, Knull up to 9, and then Electro goes bye-bye, bringing Knull up to 11. And unfortunately, we did not hit the Mystique here, but we did grab Death for a free 12 power. So that's pretty sweet and should allow us to win this game. We can drop Death into nowhere, and that should allow us to win there, though my opponent is going to snap. So they've got some tricks up their sleeves, and I'm thinking that means I can probably Shang-Chi. I just gotta guess where my opponent is going to potentially be putting this card. So I'm gonna try to guess Shang-Chi over into Warrior Falls beta, and where Knull is at, and see if that works out. And my opponent doesn't play a Shang-Chi-able card. They actually play an Odin, which creates additional Doombots at the other 2 locations. We're going to destroy the Doombot and the Doctor Doom in Warrior Falls. Oh, that's right. No. My Shang-Chi gets destroyed in Warrior Falls, and then Captain Marvel moves over and gives my opponent the win. And what is so embarrassing about this, you see, we were only behind by 2 in Warrior Falls. If we had played Death to any other location, we grab the win. But the other crazy thing is, if we had just not even played Shang-Chi, I think if we just don't even play anything this turn, we win. Because Doctor Doom, or Dr. Octopus rather, wow. We could have played absolutely nothing and won that game, because the Warrior Falls would have grown our Knull big enough to take down that second location, or third location, second Warrior Falls. So an unfortunate way to end it, but at least I definitely got to live the Warrior Falls dream there, but I'll still be looking for a Warrior Falls win. That's going to be it for me today. Thank you guys very much for watching. I'm No Luck's Given. Peace.